Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of this replay between Argos Zenith and ZZiLook here on Steps of War. Currently ZZiLook moving out with a very large army, 4,100 mineral army versus 1,850. Taking a look, we do have a Nidus network however, so a Nidus network now coming into play. We are also upgrading the hive tech, and we are also getting the with the pathogen glands for those infestors. So I believe those infestors will be able to start with an additional 25 energy. That is going to be very, very important as that Nidus network now coming into play. It will be key whether or not these infestors are able to get that critical fungal growth off onto this Terran bio ball here. There are a decent number of siege tanks as well, and now ZZiLook just playing a very, very safe game, moving out with Ravens, siege tanks, and Marines. The Marines have level 1 weapons upgrade in addition to the mech level 1 weapons upgrade, so things are looking very, very strong right now for the Terran player. The Terran player a little bit or significantly behind in the economic game, so it's going to matter how Argos Zenith currently works. He is currently trying to train up 9 additional roaches, and we are getting the level 2 carapace upgrades for the Zerg for the Zerg ground army as well. And now we also have a Nidus worm, and the Nidus worm now being spawned over here in the back of the base. I do not think the Terran player sees this just quite yet as this army now moves out. However, as soon as this Nidus worm is going to pop out, he will be able to dump all these roaches. However, not engaging yet infestors over here. So we do have some Marines and Marauders trying to take down, or sorry, just mass Marines trying to take down this hatchery over here. And this Nidus worm has a lot of roaches, but not engaging now. Finally moving out. Roaches heading straight towards the production buildings of ZZiLook. And this is going to really, really hurt the production buildings here. Siege tanks now taking some damage. Roaches trying to move around. We do have one siege tank over here continuing to blast. Perhaps they will be able to deal enough damage to take down some more of these units. Marines now coming in to engage, stimming back over here as well. So is it going to be enough? Now trying to take down this one siege tank. So siege tank roaches do have level 1 armor, so these Marines are only dealing 5 damage per attack. In this engagement here, more roaches trying to move out once again, so 1,700 versus 1,450. However, more Zerglings may be trying to dump into this location here. Another Nidus worm popping out. One roach trying to fight back against all of these SCVs. Will be able to take down a lot of them just because of that a base 2 armor. So these SCVs are only dealing 3 damage per attack. And another Nidus worm popping up in just a moment. So the roach is able to take some or deal some damage short of that command center, or at least force it to come back out. We do have one infestor here, so that infestor now going to take down some of these missile turrets, and now these infestors can burrow and now they're spawning some infested Terran. So infested Terran now going to be spawning over here. However, the siege tanks over here going to try to pressure into this location. So siege tanks now sieging up. However, the roaches and infestors now coming in, getting taken down very quickly. Zerglings and roaches now trying to move on over. Will we have enough damage? Queen's now able to pressure in over here as we have a large group of roaches still coming into this position. Marines and siege tanks now trying to pressure out. For some reason, the orbital command is not lifting off. And now the Marines now trying to move out, perhaps to take down this, once again, this Nidus worm. Nidus worm will fall. However, Mutalisk now in the air, catching a lot of these siege tanks out of position, especially since all the Marines are back over here. So really, really strong play, using the Nidus worm to allow those free-moving Marines to head back home, and then using Mutalisk to pick off all of these siege tanks. So now, all of a sudden, Argos Zenith in a very dominating position as he now has 11 Mutalisks in the air. Taking a look at the unit combination, 15 Mutalisks total, 1 Banshee, and a couple roaches versus 1 Raven, a couple siege tanks and Marines. We do have also a couple medevacs. These Marines are now still only upgraded 1-0, and we have another Nidus worm popping up over here. So the main base and the main orbital command center has been taken down already, as these Mutalisks trying to utilize their high mobility and causing a lot of the Terran player to just not know where to fight consistently. We do have one infestor over here. Roaches now scampering out, will be able to deal some damage, but they will easily be torn apart and taken down by these Marines here. So the Marines doing their job. One infestor sitting over here. However, Mutalisk now once again doing a great job. As soon as those Marines were pulling out, these siege tanks were exposed by these exposed to these Mutalisks. So those Mutalisks able to come in and just deal a lot of damage. And now you can see a sudden shift. Argos Zenith using the high mobility of Zerg to able to push back, and now once again more and more Nidus worm play into the back of the base. They are losing some of these Marines here. Banelings perhaps are going to start splashing damage into this position. No, the Banelings are now trying to move in, and we have a couple Marines over here. Are they going to be able to splash through? Splashing, getting some of that front damage over there. More Banelings trying to move out once again, and all those Banelings now taking down this bio ball here, down to a 1750 army, and things are not looking good. The production of the Terran player simply getting hurt. The mineral patch is only down to 8 here, but a lot of them were already running low, down to 500, down to 270. So without being able to mine out of this consistently, and also losing a lot of these production buildings, many of them on fire, he would not be able to train up a large enough army. So once again, Argos Zenith using the high mobility of Zerg, attacking on the front door with Mutalisks, attacking in the back with Roaches and Zerglings in order to cause those Marines to pull back in order to save these production buildings, and then exposing these siege tanks to a front door invasion of Mutalisks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Argos and ZZiLook here on Steps of War.